Speaking of slips, this was one of my favorites, right? My favorite style of weirdness in our things that we cover, right? Because my favorite author, PKD. I know you'd be surprised.
Philip
it's not Frank
K. Dick.
Philip K. Dick. I know you'd be surprised that Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert, I love Dune, but I don't know about the rest of his books. Where Philip K. Dick, I enjoy his entire oeuvre.
Did he write more books than Dune?
He wrote a couple. He had a submarine drama that was called
cool.
The Boys Down Below or something. He had a couple other things, and then but mostly he's known for Dune.
Okay.
Right? But Philip K. Dick is very important to me, and what we know about Philip K. Dick, have you done any of the reading? If you're a cool person, if you're someone I want to be around, you know
I don't know
that
if those are mutually exclusive, but
he actually had what he calls a time slip. This idea that he had a sort of. It was a mental break in one way, or was it a mental success?
this isn't something that a bride takes off after she's married and she throws it to all of her bridesmaids. Hopefully one catches them so they can find love also.
I always find it weird in a wedding that you're supposed to go up there with your teeth and go up and you're like, your
Some do
fucking
it.
wife's father is there and
Some
you got to
do
fucking rifle around her pussy hairs with your mouth and shit,
one
which
of
is
the-
fine.
I'm not married for many reasons, but one of them is I do not like wedding tradition.
We
And-
did
but
not do a lot of wedding traditions
I don't
when we
like
got
it.
married
It's
because it
creepy.
is weird. I mean, you feel like, I want to do that, but I want to do it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Philip K. Dick is not one of those slips. Philip K. Dick had a real-time slip where he believed he was approached by this non-human intelligence called Valis that shot a laser of information into his head
Okay.
that revealed to him that time was not linear and that he looked at a version of himself in ancient Rome that he believed was happening concurrently with our reality.
Sure.
And there actually, I was just reading an article by a occult author, Mitch Horowitz, that also has come forward with, believe that there is lab confirming this idea that time is not linear, that it is all happening at once.
Stacks on stacks on stacks.
Stacks on stacks on stacks on stacks, and that precognition can actually maybe be proved in a laboratory to be real. I'm sorry, I'm touching your skin like this.
You are. Well, it's very exciting because then it can always be 2011, the last year the Packers won the Super Bowl.
Sure, because he says, and this is with this weird, the way they figured it out in the lab, right? The way they figured it out, and this is weird, is that what they'll do is give you 2 vocabulary tests. That they'll give you a vocabulary test, a memorization, right? Where they give you a list of words, and then you do a cold test where you try to repeat back the memorized words that you just did. But according to this experiment, what they wanted to say was that you'll do a follow-up lesson after you do the test, where
Okay.
you have the same words, but what you do is you go through with an instructor after you do the cold test, where you go, here are all the words, here are what they mean, and
Bit of a warmer test.
Yes, but what they show, according to this test, they said that they have a statistical analysis. There's enough of a bump that says more people are better at the first test when they do a test afterwards. So literally, the training that they got about the words after the test, because time is not linear, show that they were better at the test before the warm-up because they had already had the warm-up if time was not linear.
Well,
You know what
maybe
I'm saying?
they got a little too cocky with it and they really didn't try to use their brain to its full capacity.
I don't know. But
Who knows?
I don't know what all this means, but it points towards this idea that maybe,
Just maybe.
just maybe,
Just
time and the idea of time, lateral moving time, is not something that is real. Linear time. Is
I
not
believe
real,
it.
right?
Why not? And of course, because your ultimate fear is death, something I embrace on a regular basis.
You love
but
it.
you don't die.
No, you will. Who knows? Well, eventually do die, but your time,
die?
your time is been done already, and then we are here just living out. You know, some people get really afraid because they think that that means fate, and we're locked into our fates. But I don't know.
No.
It's more just that time and everything. We have access to all times,
Yeah.
right? Apparently, but there is one place apparently where it is so common
Okay.
to have a time slip that's actually become known for it, and this is Bold Street in Liverpool.
Oh, in Liverpool,
Now,
home of the Beatles.
They're where the Beatles are.
Yeah.
Apparently, where the Beatles are has a bit of a urban legend, which is to say that when you go down the streets of Bold Street, you can see in this picture, it's nice.
It's a nice looking street. They have a bunch of different kinds of lights hanging. It looks like there's
Yes.
cars on the ground. It looks like there's people going to a sock hop, perhaps.
I don't know. I don't know what British people do. We'll find out.
Well, sock hops.
In October, we'll find out. But he says that on Bold Street, that more than one person have slipped into another time.
Intriguing indeed.
There was one man, a man by the name of Frank, right? Former cop. That's who you know he's believable.
Absolutely. They would never
They
lie.
never lie.
Absolutely.
One Saturday in July of 1996, Frank and his wife, Carol, he was in Liverpool to do some shopping. So he went to Central Station and the couple, did they give a bit of a slip up there? They went down there and they went a bit of a slipperoo to a different time period there.
No.
Right? Carol went to Dylan's bookshop in Bold Street to purchase a copy of Irvin Welsh's new book, Trainspotting.
Oh, Trainspotting. That movie makes me nauseous and
Very
sick.
disgusting.
And never do heroin. Please be safe.
But Frank said he was walking around. He was like, about 20 minutes. He was walking the street. Him and his wife split up. And he walked near, he was near the Lyceum.
He was looking for a CD. Just put a little timestamp on it.
Yeah, so you know, because that's what we used to do all day. That's all we used to do.
Compact disc. I used to go to Weeby CDs.
Oh, me too. I remember the CD warehouse.
Absolutely.
I remember the CD warehouse understood that we were maybe sort of stealing from the back of Borders and selling those DVD sets to the CD warehouse because they were like, stop selling them here. We know you're stealing them.
Absolutely.
But he said that he went out, he was walking on the street, and then all of a sudden he stepped into a dead spot where it was quiet, a little suspiciously quiet.
Oh, my goodness.
And then he saw a small box van. It looked something from the 1950s. It sped across his path. And he's like, what the fuck? And he noticed that the van had the name Kaplan's emblazed on the side, right?
Okay, maybe
And
it's a
everybody
deli.
knows the Kaplan's from a long time ago.
Okay, so Kaplan's doesn't exist anymore in
Right?
1996.
Because he crossed the road, he saw the Dylan's bookshop. It's no longer there.
Okay.
And he goes, oh, well, one with Bibbidi Bop. I went to go take a look at the bookstore there.
What was there?
Next thing I know, it was another store. It was the name for Crips.
Oh, it was called Crips and not Dylan's.
I know, and he was like, "Oh, what's that going to be?" And he found out it's a bit of a pharmacy then.
Whoa,
Right?
that's not a bookstore at all.
He looked in the window for Crips and he saw notebooks on display, but he saw women's handbags and shoes, right? And he saw that
Wow.
people were wearing clothes that would have been in vogue in the 40s and 50s, and the men wore trilbies.
Trilbies. Now, what's a trilby?
I think it's a cock ring, and
Yeah.
you can tell.
yeah.
You can tell by the tightness of walk.
Well, transfer me to that time period,
But they had-
please. I love a good ring.
Long overcoats. The women wore scarves, berets, pillbox hats. All right, and the possibility he said, like, what happened? They just like
What's
walk
going
into
on?
this. He cited a girl of about 20, right? Who was dressed like she was 1996, and he grabbed her, right? And he was just like, "Ma'am, what time are we in?"
Now, is it possible he's just accidentally grabbed this woman or purposely grabbed this woman and came up with this story in retrospect so he doesn't seem like a groper?
No.
Okay.
He grabbed this woman, right? And he said, like, "Did you see that then? Did you see what happened? How everything changed?" Right? She's like, "Yeah, I thought there was a new shop that had just opened. I was going to go look at the clothes, but now it's a bookshop."
So she saw Dylan's.
Yeah. So she saw Crips.
She saw
flipped around.
Crips.
She saw it too, and then she got there and she realized it was a bookstore. Time slip, bro.
Time slip.
Yeah, man. Times keep on slipping into the past.
Wow.
If you're in Liverpool.
So he wanted to go buy a Eurythmics CD, and next thing you know, he's in a whole nother era, a whole nother century. And now the question is, where's his wife?
in hell.
Oh,
no,
my.
she showed right back up.
She did.
But that wasn't the only time either. There's been several instances of a time slip on Bold Street. This has happened again. This happened to another person because they were walking down the street.
Is it possible everything just kind of looks the same? You get a little drunk, you have a couple of beers, a little bit of suds in your tummy, and next thing you know, you're like, whoa, this is a different street than I remember because you're on a different street.
How dare you deny the impossible?
Okay.
It might be very... That might be
It
true.
could be that. I don't know. I mean, I'm also like totally, I'm down. I just feel like, again, if I'm going to have a time slip, can you bring me like someplace else?
Oh, yeah,
somewhere
man.
cooler?
This is another story. This is a story of a man named Sean. He was shoplifting in Liverpool.
And you know he's telling the truth because he admitted that he was shoplifting.
Maybe he was shopping. Maybe he was stealing,
Absolutely.
right? He ran away from a security guard. Right? He headed. This is like from a YA book. And so he stole something from a store. He ran away from a security guard. And to think that
can't
he
get me, bro.
get away from him, he then slipped into another toy.
That's a hell of a way to escape.
He's trying to shake off the guard, right? He turned into a dead end. It was called Brooks Alley. Right?
Okay.
And by this time, he was out of breath and he started to get a tight sensation in his chest. I know what that's like. We're on the exercise bike.
Hypertension.
He soon realized that he wasn't just there anymore. It wasn't something was weird, right?
Yeah.
And then something was weird with the atmosphere. Now he waited for the guard to catch up. That's how bad of a thief he was.
Right. Yeah. Why would you ever do that? You got to get the heck out of there, man.
But the guard never appeared. So he thinking that maybe, hey, I'll give him a bit of a slip then, right?
A time slip.
He sauntered back out and he started to walk down Hanover Street again. And he realized something was wrong.
Is it possible that the guards, like the guards here in America, who are not legally allowed to stop you if you're shoplifting,
That's the best part.
is it possible the guard just didn't care to follow him?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
But this time he went and he looked at the road, The road, it looked different. And so did the pavement. And he noticed cars that driving by look very old-fashioned then.
Oh.
Right? And he was like, oh, the roadworks, I thought the roadworks were
different,
there.
yeah.
But then I looked, roadworks were gone then. Right? And so the people around him, they were wearing strange clothes. And he crossed over to Bold Street. There was, there's a traffic light there. It wasn't here before.
The traffic light wasn't there before.
Meanwhile, he's carrying this fucking,
God knows
rubber butt he stole from the
dildo,
store. Right?
something like that. Yeah.
No, he carried on walking, right? And then he's like, something's fucking back. And then he realized, I've stepped back in time.
Back in time.
Whoa, what happened then? What have happened? And then he takes out his cell phone. Right, so he still has got a cell phone, right?
Right.
So he takes it out. He's got all these people from another time period
they might think
walking
he's
around
a
him.
witch or something with that.
I don't know, but he said no signal.
I mean, it's London. It's England.
There's
It's
no
Liverpool.
satellites.
There's no.
London's a very big city.
London has the worst Wi-Fi in the country, in the world.
Yes, sure, but still, right?
Okay.
He went. He was like, "Oh, no one's going." And he went over to his newspaper stand, and he was like, "What day is it, sir?" And it's just like, "Oh, you deaf? Of course, it's May 10th, 1967."
Whoa!
He traveled back in time, dude. And what are you going to do? How do I get back to my own time? What about family? What
What
about
did he
my
do?
friends? Right? Right. So he sped up his pace. He reached the jewelers. Right. He tried his phone again. This time it worked. And then he sighed with relief. And he sighed with relief. And he looked around. And he realized his body and his side of the street had returned to the present. But then when he looked around, he saw down the street. It was 1967.
Well, isn't that something unbelievable? And I think that that's fascinating. And in no way is a cop and a thief untrustworthy sources for any of these stories.
But I want to know, have you ever experienced a time slip? Email sidestorieslpotl@gmail.com because I find it very interesting.
I just want to go to a funner time.
I mean, I've had those. I mean, like, I'll blame, this is back in the day, but I
want to
definitely will
go
blame.
to pre 4/20/99. I want to go back to
Sure.
4/18 because 4/20 was Columbine and then everything changed.
Everything changed.
And I believe that was also before Woodstock 99.
Yes.
So
Things were chill.
It was just chill time.